Look, I get it. You've been burned before by all these videos with the exact same title. But this time it's gonna be different because I'm being completely honest about this video and the title. It has changed how I view and handle certain situations. I'm gonna blue ball you a little bit and yap first. Growing up in my friend groups, I was the guy who was able to kind of catch up and learn on things a little bit faster than the others. And so when it came to competitive games, I was pretty used to winning. Eventually I had one friend who I was beating all the time, and then as time went on, he was getting closer and closer, and then eventually he started to beat me. I hit a wall because I didn't know what I was doing wrong, I didn't understand what I was doing wrong, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. And then as time went on, as I was starting to go to arcades before they all started to close up around here, I started to realize how fucking mid I actually am at games. Granted, I was just a stupid kid getting my ass beat by people twice my age, but at that point I really just realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I still had fun, but I was still a little deterred. And then eventually Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out. It had a lot of cool characters that I liked, and so I started playing it, I started enjoying it, and then I really started to actually like tournaments because I loved seeing the top level play. And then I don't know if I caught this on release or if it was later down the line, but eventually iPlayWinner, now called Tenno Media, made a video called Redemption. We're not going to watch the whole video, maybe just a few highlights as I yap, because I really want you to go watch the video for yourself. This is a video I want to glaze, and I think it deserves way more than the 51k likes that it has. And so it starts off with asking a bunch of professional players about their greatest loss. And you can just see how it stings, it stirs them up. They really had to think about it and just relive that experience in their head. And it just really shows how deeply engraved these moments are in their life. And of course, a lot of these things were tournament matches, so people have footage of these greatest losses that they're talking about. Hell Pockets, for example, it was a loss in the game that he could have prevented, he screwed up. And then the guy who beat him, Roger Dodger, just kind of had a little post-match word to say.
Afterwards, there's your fucking gimmicks for you, like, oh, that hurts so much.
But soon it transitions to talking about beyond the loss. And a lot of it's talking about how they've learned, how it's made them improve, how they now have the desire, the motivation to keep on moving forward. It's at this point that one of my favorite content creators, well, now content creators, makes a great line. This being Eris.
I'm a believer in the philosophy that a mistake isn't a mistake if you learn from it. So if I lose and I learn from my mistakes, then it really wasn't a loss. It was just a step in this process of becoming a great player.
That line, that mindset really hit me. And I really started to look at mistakes very differently from this point on. And then the final part of the video is a montage of really great moments in the fighting game community. It shows not only the gameplay, but also just how intense it gets with the crowd, how into it they get into these moments. And the entire video, the themes, how they transition it, the timing of it all, it just goes, it hits so hard with Truth by Memoria. And it ends up with a line that every moment matters and also every match matters. This video has left a permanent impact on me, because it has altered how I look at mistakes, failure, losses, hardship. It has helped me not get too caught up in the negative things. And I find myself being the kind of the person who goes towards self-reflection more. I think about how I can improve, how I can not let history repeat itself, not make the same mistake twice. And if I do, well, at least maybe not as egregiously. It has just become a very big thing for me personally and professionally, and it's helped me out a lot. This is the type of video I think about from time to time, and I've probably rewatched it yearly at this point. And one of my best gaming experiences is pretty much a direct result of how I think about games, which is, again, greatly attributed by this video. So time for a little more lore and story. So when I worked at publishing, we actually had like a mini fighting game community in the back. We had multiple setups in the back, even an arcade cab, and people would just run sets with one another. I liked a lot of fighting games, but I never really had a main game. And so for me, I was playing every game with everybody basically. Well, I thought I was actually going to be like an MVCI main, but well, that game didn't go too well. And so came Dragon Ball FighterZ. And of course, a lot of us were really interested in it because it's Dragon Ball. I mean, why not? Dragon Ball and Arc Sys. Oh yeah, by the way, we worked upwards to 12 hours a day, so we had hour-long lunches. So that was a lot of time to actually just play games if we wanted to, or eat, or sometimes I would just actually sleep in my chair. The struggle was pretty real, but a lot of us really got into DBFZ. But there came a point where there was me and one other guy who was clearly ahead of the pack. And it actually deterred some of the other people to play the game more, and they actually moved on to other games. And honestly, that might have been something I would have done had I not really changed. So what would happen is, like, during lunch, somebody would primarily be the winner and somebody would primarily be the loser. And the loser would get, you know, a little salty, like, why didn't I win? I was winning the other day. And that really drives the loser to really think about the match more, think of what they could have done better, how they can counter better. And then after work, we would actually play some more usually. The main reason for that is because I had a 30-minute drive and we pretty much finished at rush hour. And so we would play until rush hour was over and then head on home. Then during those after work games, sometimes it would change and the winner would have been the loser and the loser would have been the winner. We basically always ended the night with a 1st to 3. Sometimes it would get really close down to the wire and then it would be like a one more situation. It was just overall just a ton of fun. But unlike after the lunch sets, now we were going home. And we were honest with each other, like, yeah, man, I went home, I hit the lab, I hit ranked. I'm ready to fucking win today. And that's what happened. We would basically switch off every other day of who won the 1st to 3, and it would just motivate the other person to step it up another notch. It really helped each other improve because we were punishing each other for our bad habits, and we also knew each other's bad habits really well. To this day, it is the most fun I've ever had with a fighting game. Though, since me and him played a lot of whack-ass off-meta characters, we did not prep each other for the meta at all when we went to Combo Breaker. We also should have went to Locals, but we worked 12 hours a day and were exhausted, so we never did that. But even when all that happened, I took all those losses as a learning experience. And I really do think that I have this video to thank for all that. This mindset and mentality also really bleeds into how I consider and think about feedback. For example, my last video, I had 20 messages from Miso the other day when I sat back down. He does not agree with parts of the video, mainly that the FOMO and burnout are not evergreen topics. And it's true, they are not mutually exclusive to one another, and I absolutely understand his point of view. However, in those parts of the videos, I do state that evergreen games usually are designed with certain aspects of freemium in it as well. So from there, I think about what I could have done better to avoid this scenario. So the first is that they're both separate topics in the video, and I think I should have put them together. And this should have been a section that I started off talking about game design and progression choices that we see in games like Lost Ark, and how these design choices affect Evergreen and change it a lot. Because while I did mention these aren't Evergreen exclusive, I think that I was too hasty on how I worded things. Had I taken the extra time to fully explain that, hey, this isn't an Evergreen exclusive thing, but when it is designed combined with other things, this is what happens. Or this is what I've seen observed happen in other games. And I also thought about how maybe if I would have just made this video more Lost Ark focused as in title and overall, like instead of just saying Evergreen, make it Lost Ark's Evergreen, I think this would have also helped. Because by nature, that would have actually paired up together a lot of the design choices that went with their design of Evergreen. Because there is downsides of being just too general. Because just saying Evergreen does bring up topics of Guild Wars, RuneScape, both which are Western developers which have their own very different Evergreen. And also even a game like BDO that doesn't have the same drip feed style of raid progression. So I think with some of my subtopics in that video, I did reach a little bit too broad. Additionally, there's also the comment that Lost Ark is not a evergreen game. And when you look at the comparisons made in that, it kind of makes sense. Especially when I looked at another comment and they said that gear in Guild Wars 10 years ago was still like really good gear that you can use today. However, I still do think Lost Ark is an evergreen game. I just think there are different levels of it. World of Warcraft, for example, is primarily a reset-based game. There is some evergreen items in it, like, again, the dragon riding. Then again, Guild Wars gear 10 years ago is still good now. Lost Ark is different where they release new content, but you had to have the old gear to get the new gear, so you're still progressing through it. And since you had to get every step along the way, unlike World of Warcraft where you can just skip raids, I would still consider that evergreen. And now because of that feedback, if I ever address this topic again, I would start the video and conversation with just explaining Lost Ark's version of evergreen. I read all my comments, good and bad. I'm inconsistent if I respond to them or not, which kind of just depends on my workload and time for the week. But I am watching, I am looking through them all because I do find that to be very good feedback for me to become a better content creator. I learn a lot about what you guys like, what you guys dislike, what I can improve on, what I can keep on doing. And I do think that this redemption video really did help make the foundation to how I handle feedback. But obviously I do limit that to more constructive criticism or just well-formed ones, as opposed to toxic for being toxic. If somebody's just clearly just trying to be a dick, I'm obviously just gonna block the bozo because they're just not worth my time. On a side and interesting note, for all you guys who probably play League, you're probably well aware that Faker actually made his own speech a few months back. And in this speech was talking about how failure can help you improve. I heard about it, I read it, and then I probably went and watched Redemption one more time. But yeah, this is my favorite video of all time. Basically the first video I probably ever put a like on YouTube. It has helped me promote a very good competitive mindset, and not only just for gaming, but outside of gaming. I hope you go watch the video because I just really want to share it with you guys.